Omoyele Sowore and VeryDarkMan did not hold back their feelings when they spoke about Nnamdi Kanu's case. They made it clear that it would be a shameful and terrible thing if Nnamdi Kanu dies in the custody of the Department of State Services, DSS, after a court of law has already discharged and acquitted him. To them, this is not just about one man. It is about the soul of justice in Nigeria, and it is about what the whole world will think of a country that ignores the rulings of its own courts. Sowore explained that Nigerians should never allow such injustice to stand. According to him, when a court sets a man free, it means the government has no more legal right to keep him in prison or detention. To continue holding him is like saying the court does not matter. It is like telling the people that their voices, their laws, and their rights do not matter. Sowore warned that this path is dangerous because it makes the whole country look lawless and unfair. He said Nnamdi Kanu has already gone through so much pain, and it would be wicked to allow him to lose his life in detention when the law has already spoken in his favor. VeryDarkMan also used strong words to show his concern. He said the Southeast governors must carry the greatest share of shame if anything happens to Kanu. According to him, these governors are supposed to defend their own people, but if they fold their hands while Kanu remains in detention, then it means they have failed. He said the shame will not only stain their names but also follow their families and generations to come. To him, keeping quiet when you know the truth is worse than standing on the wrong side. He reminded Nigerians that silence in the face of injustice is equal to betrayal. Sowore continued by saying that this is not just about politics or personal feelings toward Kanu. He explained that whether you like Kanu or not, the matter is about the rule of law. The court has already said he should be free, and that should be the end of the matter. To still keep him in detention is nothing but wickedness. Sowore said Nigerians must stand together and insist that Kanu should not die in the hands of the DSS. If he dies, it will mark a dark chapter in Nigeria's history. It will tell the whole world that Nigerians do not value justice and human rights. VeryDarkMan backed this point and made it even stronger. He said Nnamdi Kanu is not just an individual, he is a symbol of justice, struggle, and the voice of a people. If such a person is treated this way, then nobody in Nigeria is safe. He said the Southeast governors must understand that their silence will never be forgotten. People will always remember that at the time when one of their own was in danger, they decided to stay quiet instead of fighting for him. Both Sowore and VeryDarkMan spoke with passion because they understand how history works. They reminded Nigerians that history does not forget those who stood for justice and those who turned their backs on it. Sowore said if Kanu dies in detention, Nigeria will not only lose a man but also lose its respect in the eyes of the world. He said the shame will be carried not just by the government but also by the people who allowed it to happen. VeryDarkMan added that many young people in Nigeria are watching closely. If they see that leaders can allow injustice to win so easily, it will make them lose hope in the system. He said this is why Sowore and himself cannot keep quiet. They have to speak now before it becomes too late. He said that leaders should know that power is not forever, and when they leave office, the truth will still stand. If they do nothing now, their names will be remembered for failure and betrayal. Sowore ended his message by calling on every Nigerian to take this matter seriously. He said Nnamdi Kanu's case is not just for one part of the country but for everyone. If one man can be discharged by the court and still kept in detention, then tomorrow it can happen to anybody. He said Nigerians must protect the law because the law protects everyone. VeryDarkMan also ended with a strong reminder. He said Nnamdi Kanu must not die in DSS custody because if that happens, the shame will be too heavy for the country to carry. He said the Southeast governors should wake up and take action now before it becomes too late. According to him, it is better to stand for justice now than to explain failure forever. Together, Sowore and VeryDarkMan made it very clear, allowing Nnamdi Kanu to die in detention after being discharged and acquitted will not only be a crime against him but also a shame against Nigeria, its leaders, and its people. Sowore and VeryDarkMan did not just talk about the general situation of Nnamdi Kanu's detention, they spoke directly to the Southeast governors. Their words were sharp and full of truth. They said history will never forgive these governors if Nnamdi Kanu dies in DSS custody after the court has already discharged and acquitted him. According to them, it would be remembered as the greatest failure of leadership in the region. Sowore made it clear that these governors cannot claim ignorance. Everyone knows that Kanu's case has gone through the courts, and everyone knows what the judgment was. A competent court of law said he should be free, and yet he is still being held. Sowore reminded the governors that as leaders of the Southeast, they have both moral and political responsibility to stand up for their people. If they remain silent, then their silence will speak louder than words. Their silence will mean betrayal. He stressed that leadership is not about enjoying power or living in luxury while the people suffer. Leadership is about making difficult decisions and standing for truth, even when it is not convenient. Sowore said the Southeast governors were elected to protect the dignity of their people. That dignity is now on trial, because if they do nothing, they will be showing the whole world that they value their political positions more than justice. VeryDarkMan was even more direct. He said it would be the height of shame if the governors allow Konu to die in detention. According to him, a leader who cannot defend his people in times of danger is not a leader at all. He explained that the governors cannot keep acting as if they are powerless. They have influence, they have authority, and they can raise their voices to demand Konu's release. If they choose not to, it means they have chosen to side with injustice. He reminded them that they swore oaths to serve their people, not to abandon them. To him, silence at this time would be like breaking that oath. He said no excuse will ever clear them from the shame of failing to act when one of their own sons is in danger. Sowore added that the world is watching. Foreign governments, human rights groups, and millions of Nigerians across the country are watching how the leaders of the Southeast will react. If they remain quiet while Konu is in danger, it will send a message that they do not care about justice. It will also tell the younger generation that leaders can betray their people just to keep favor with those in power. Sowore said this is not the kind of lesson young Nigerians should learn. VeryDarkMan also touched on this point. He said young people already feel neglected and disappointed by many leaders in Nigeria. If the Southeast governors fail in this case, they will only confirm the belief that politicians do not care about the people. He warned that history has a way of exposing such failures, no matter how hard leaders try to cover them up. Both men agreed that the Southeast governors are in the best position to intervene. They come from the same land as Konu, they lead the people he comes from, and they have access to the federal government. If they use their voices and their positions, it will carry weight. But if they fold their hands, then they will be seen as accomplices in his suffering. Sowore said this is not about politics or party differences. It is about life, justice, and the dignity of a people. He said no matter what anyone thinks of Konu's style or message, the fact is that he has been discharged by a court, and the law must be respected. If the governors truly care about their people, they should set aside fear and selfish interest, and demand his release. VeryDarkMan followed this with a strong warning. He said if Konu dies in detention, the shame will not only stain the governors but also the entire region. People will ask, where were the leaders of the Southeast when one of their own was unjustly held? He said such a question will never go away, and the governors will not be able to escape it. They both reminded the governors that political power is temporary. One day they will leave office and return to ordinary life. When that day comes, the only thing left will be their record. If their record shows that they failed to defend justice, then no amount of titles or wealth will clear their names. Sowore said the time to act is now. Waiting will only make things worse. He urged the governors to call on the federal government and the DSS to respect the court's ruling and release Konu. He said their voices can make a difference if they choose to use them. VeryDarkMan ended with a direct call to action. He said leadership is tested not in times of comfort but in times of crisis. This is the crisis of the Southeast, and the governors must rise to the occasion. He reminded them that the shame of failure lasts longer than the fear of speaking out. If they speak and nothing changes, at least history will record that they tried. But if they remain silent, history will record them as leaders who betrayed their own. Together, Sowore and VeryDarkMan left no doubt in their message. If the Southeast governors do not act now, they will carry the shame of Nnamdi Kanu's possible death forever, and that shame will be too heavy to bear. The voice of Sowore and VeryDarkMan did not stand alone for long. Their cry for justice found support from far beyond Nigeria's borders. The President of Kenya, William Ruto, heard about the situation of Nnamdi Kanu and spoke with boldness. His words added weight to what Sowore and VeryDarkMan had been saying. Ruto made it clear that no nation that respects justice should keep a man in detention after a court has already discharged and acquitted him. To him, it is not just unfair, it is a dangerous act that undermines the rule of law. William Ruto explained that the world is watching Nigeria closely, and the actions taken in Konu's case will either build or destroy the nation's reputation. He said justice is the foundation of peace, and when justice is denied, peace becomes fragile. According to Ruto, holding on to Konu after the court has spoken is like planting a seed of conflict. It sends a message that laws do not matter, and that the rights of citizens can be ignored whenever it suits those in power. He did not shy away from addressing Nigerian leaders directly. Ruto said leadership is not about showing force or proving power. It is about fairness, compassion, and obedience to the rule of law. He said the Nigerian government must respect its own court rulings because ignoring them weakens the entire justice system. If the people lose trust in the courts, then they will also lose trust in the government. Sowore welcomed Ruto's words and said they prove that the struggle for Konu's freedom is not just a local matter but an international one. He reminded Nigerians that justice knows no boundaries. If leaders in other countries can see what is wrong, then there is no excuse for those within Nigeria to remain silent. He said Ruto's voice is a wake-up call to Nigerian leaders, especially those in the southeast, to rise and take responsibility. VeryDarkMan also praised Ruto for speaking out. He said it takes courage for a foreign leader to talk about another country's internal matter, but it shows how serious the situation is. According to him, Ruto's support proves that the call for Konu's freedom is not about politics or personal interest but about basic human rights. VeryDarkMan said if a president in another country can boldly call for justice, then the governors in the southeast should feel even more ashamed for keeping quiet. Ruto went further to say that the health and safety of Nnamdi Kanu should be a priority. He reminded Nigeria that life is sacred, and no leader should allow politics to become more important than human life. He said keeping Kanu in detention after the court has set him free is not only unlawful but also inhumane. He urged Nigerian leaders to act quickly before the situation leads to greater anger and unrest. His words brought a fresh sense of urgency to the matter. Sowore repeated that if Kanu dies in detention, the shame will not just be for the southeast governors but for Nigeria as a whole. He said the international community will judge Nigeria as a country where laws mean nothing. He said Ruto's intervention is proof that the issue is now bigger than Nigeria alone. The world is watching, and the leaders cannot escape accountability. VeryDarkMan added that Ruto's support shows how the truth cannot be hidden. He said that even if some leaders in Nigeria pretend not to see the injustice, others outside the country can see it clearly. He said Nigerians should not wait for foreigners to always defend their rights. Instead, they should use this opportunity to unite and demand justice with one voice. Ruto's words also sent a strong signal to the southeast governors. If a leader outside the region and outside the country can speak so boldly, then what excuse can they possibly have for keeping quiet? Sowore said this is the kind of shame that cannot be wiped away. If they allow a foreign leader to be the one standing up for their own brother while they hide in silence, history will never forgive them. VeryDarkMan added that leadership is about courage, and courage means standing for truth even when it is not safe. He said the southeast governors must take inspiration from Ruto's boldness. If he, as a foreign president, can risk criticism to speak for Konu, then they, as his kinsmen and leaders, must do even more. William Ruto ended his statement with a call for peace and unity. He said peace is only possible when justice is done, and unity is only real when everyone feels they are treated fairly. He said keeping Konu in detention after the court's ruling is not just against him but against the principles of fairness and justice that hold a nation together. Sowore and VeryDarkMan held on to those words and used them as fuel to strengthen their message. They said the time for excuses is over. Nigerians must rise, the southeast governors must speak, and the federal government must act. The whole matter is now beyond politics. It is about saving a life and protecting the honor of the nation. Together, the voices of Sowore, VeryDarkMan, and William Ruto carried a simple but powerful truth. Nnamdi Kanu must not die in detention. His freedom is not just a legal issue but a moral one. If he is allowed to die there, it will be an everlasting shame on Nigeria and its leaders. But if justice is done and he is released, it will prove that Nigeria can still rise to the call of fairness and respect for human rights.